Hello and welcome back, everybody. You're listening to The Introverted Nerd Watches, and I am your host, Reese, and I am back for some more Cloak and Dagger. And this week I watched Season 1, Episode 4, Call Response. Oh, you guys, I love this show so much. And this week was a really good episode. It's been 4 really good episodes of the show so far. Like it hasn't really slowed down. It's given us more and more every week. The mystery is good, like what's going to happen. How are Tandy and Tyrone going to deal with their powers? What's going on with Roxanne? That place. But you still get a lot of the personal, the personal growth, the family stuff that Tandy and Tyrone are going through, how they're connecting with each other. And I think we've gotten a really good mixture of all of that in every episode. So it keeps everything really interesting. Like there hasn't been a lull at all. We're only 4 episodes in, and I believe there's only 10 episodes this season. So, obviously we got 6 more episodes for things to completely fall off the rails, but I really don't expect that. This is a really good show. Just real shit happening, and I freaking love it. I will not let anybody steal my joy for this show. I don't know why I'm getting so defensive already. It's not like anybody has said anything to me about how, the show is bad or disappointing or anything. I'm always pre-defensive about the things that I like. I'm always ready to defend the shit I like. So I don't know. Just in case anybody wants to hop in my mentions on Twitter or something and shit on Cloak and Dagger, I am ready. I will not take that shit. I am a 1-woman Cloak and Dagger defense squad. So before we get into it, you need to subscribe to the podcast because I said so. The Introverted Nerd Watches is available on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play, Stitcher. I am also on Spotify and iHeartRadio if you like those apps. So go subscribe. Give me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and I'll read it on here. You can also, you need to also recommend the show to your friends because I want more people listening. I want everybody to be one of us. So, while you're listening, just recommend me to your friends and they will love me and they will give me 5-star reviews and I will take over the world, Pinky. So, let's get into this episode. Call response. So we basically start from where we left off last week, which is another thing about this show. Every episode sort of ends where the other episode sort of begins where the other episode ended, which I really like. You don't have to it isn't like a waiting game for oh my God, I have to wait to see about what I was excited about last week. But no, they bring you right to Tandy and Tyrone, meeting in the church, and they have to talk to each other, and that is what they do. I actually like the how this episode is set up. The backdrop of it is through the entire episode is this conversation between Tandy and Tyrone. They're telling each other what they saw in those in their visions from last week. And they're talking, but they're not just talking about that. They're talking about everything. I like the, obviously I have not been shy about the fact that I ship them, but they have this dynamic where they're getting to know each other. There's an intimacy between them and there's definite, they have mad chemistry. And this is not just a shipper goggle thing because I would tell you if I thought that they were like, if I thought that it was uncomfortable or whatever. But they do have really good chemistry, and I can't even say that they were really flirting with each other, but it was definitely a familiarity and an intimacy that they share with each other. So I really like it. And it wasn't there wasn't like, it wasn't like super sexual, or at least not intentionally sexual. There was not like a lot of flirting, or they didn't kiss or anything like that, obviously. But I really do dig the dynamic between them. I like the way that they talk to each other. They're really cute. And I need them to get together and love each other, and we need to really get Evita out of this place. We got to get Evita out of here. And I really hate it, because I'm just hating on Evita for no reason, because she was barely in this episode, and I'm still just a filthy hater, but whatever. They're trying to figure out the connection that they have to each other, and they talk about it. They're simultaneously being drawn to one another, but also being repelled from each other, because Tyrone tells Tandy that he's, everything always comes back to her for him. He doesn't understand why, but he always, when he's upset or angry or scared or something, like in the last episode where he's shooting at the the cop's name, Cooper, I believe that's his name, I forget, the dickhead cop, when he's shooting at him, and he appears in front of Tandy, and he's telling her that it always comes back to you, and he doesn't know why. And Tandy tells him that they're being drawn together, but they're being repelled from each other because they can't touch each other. They actually try to touch each other later in the episode, and they close their eyes, and they slowly reach out to one another, and that's when their powers engage, and they touch for a second, but then they immediately get like repelled. They like get thrown across the room from one another inside the church. So I want to know what that's all about. I want to know how they can control that, because obviously that is, in order for, I don't know that their powers are going to work exactly the way they work in a comic book, but the reason why they work in the comic book is because they sort of draw on each other's strengths. So in order for that to work, they have to be able to touch each other, because part of Tyrone's power is to be able to transport through the dark energy. And Tandy can do that too with him. Like, he can protect her, and, he can, with his cloak and everything, but, that's a whole thing, that we'll probably get into as the season goes on, but they eventually have to be able to touch each other, and I cannot wait for that. So when we see them talking through the episode in the church, and they're sort of, it's fun, because we, they're just laying around talking like they're sort of like they're old friends just catching up, and it's really comfortable between them. And then, I like that we see their individual lives too. We see them away from each other. We see Tandy with her mom and Pink Robe Greg, who I didn't know how much I loved Pink Robe Greg until he was gone. Oh, rest in peace, Pink Robe Greg. We'll get into him later. But we see how Tandy's dealing with her mom, and it's like they're taking each other's advice, because Tyrone tells Tandy what he told Evita last week, that the vision that he had wasn't for him. It was meant for someone else. And it was meant for, obviously, for Tandy. And they both each tell each other the interpretation of what they see. So they're basically giving each other sort of bad advice, which I like. Tandy's Tandy's advice to Tyrone, after she sees everything that he went through, his dreams, of wanting to kill the cop, of how self-destructive it is. Her advice to him is basically to be like her, to become a scammer, and not to, basically you have to find out about your victim before you can take them out, is basically Tandy's advice. She's Tandy the scammer. I freaking she's so great. Cause she asks Tyrone for his wallet again, and he tries to be a little cute with it, like, well, why didn't you just take it like you tried to do the last time? And she's like, well, I could, but just give it to me. And she takes his wallet and she goes through his wallet, and she's basically telling him, she's trying to read who he is based on what's in his wallet. And she gets some of it right, but she also gets some of it wrong. She's predisposed to what she thinks about him. She already thinks Tyrone is a rich kid. So when she looks into his wallet and she sees that he has a credit card from his mom, but it's unused, and she thinks that means that he's not using it because he must have a whole lot of his own money, but he doesn't. He only has $8, and that sort of surprises her. And Tyrone thinks that means he tells her, you wouldn't have gotten that much money off of me anyway, because I don't carry that much money, obviously. But she tells him that, you don't steal somebody's wallet to get their money. The wallet is just the first thing. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, that's actually true. She takes, her con is a lot deeper. She goes into it a lot deeper. She wants to get the really valuable stuff, which is why she targets rich kids and goes to their houses, roofies them, and steals all of their expensive shit. The wallet is not where you go, because obviously you can't use people's credit cards. That would just you would get tracked down, and if they don't have a ton of money in their wallet at the time, you're sort of just a petty, pickpocket at that point. But Tandy is into that big time shit. Tandy the scammer. You got to watch out for that girl. Trying to turn honest Tyrone into Tyrone the scammer. And he actually tries it. He tells her, he can't be like her. He's a black kid. And he can't just, she tells him to walk into the police station and, to be the victim, because he says, the world sees him as a thug. And she tells him, don't be a thug, be a victim. And Tyrone pretends that his bike is stolen. He actually he gets bolt cutters he steals bolt cutters from his dad's garage, and he chains his bike up and throws it over into this under a bridge or something. And then he goes to the police station to report his bike missing. And, it's all this elaborate way to try to get closer to dickhead cop that killed his brother. And Tyrone tries, but he gets into the police station, and the police were actually going to to take his report about his stolen bike. I was expecting them to be like, really, dude? a fucking stolen bike. Like, I was expecting a cop to be like, and it was mostly white cops, or at least the ones that I saw were white in the police station. And he's looking around and he's really nervous, and you can they do with the sound, you hear him, you see and hear that he's becoming more and more agitated, almost like he's about to have a panic attack or something, because everything around him gets really loud, and he just runs out of the police station because Tyrone is not about the scam life. Tyrone is way too honest, which Tandy tells him later in the episode that he's an honest guy. So trying to be like her, really doesn't help. Tandy's way of doing things isn't really the right way to do things. And I think it was Tandy's advice to Ty is a lot more clear, because what her visions of what Ty was doing and the visions that she was having last week about his life were much more clear. This week, I mean, I guess, what he saw in his visions of her life was that Tandy always ran away and that she's self-destructive. So I guess in this episode, Tandy she goes back to her mother, and she tries to, I guess, sort of reconcile with her mother. Her and her mom have a really complicated relationship because, she comes back, she brings her mom coffee, and it's sort of like they're trying to get it back together. And I was just something that low key that happened that I caught eye of is that she gives her mom a coffee. She bought, 2 coffees for them, from Starbucks, I believe. And she gives her mom the coffee, and her mom invites her in the house. And she immediately starts pouring alcohol into the coffee. She pops a pill and takes a sip of the coffee, and Tandy does not even blink an eye. It's like, that's the kind of relationship that they have. That's how sort of dysfunctional things are between her and her mom, that, she doesn't even blink an eye. Her mom is drinking and taking pills in front of her, and it's sort of like Tandy wants to move on to, like, the next thing. And the next thing is that she wants to talk about Pink Robe Greg, the dude her mom was seeing, and the lawyer dude from, last week. And she's trying to talk her mom out of being with Pink Robe Greg, basically telling her mom, like, hey, this is just another dude that's using you because he thinks you having hot ass. Like, he's not into you. He's not really trying to help you. Tandy is just like, you know what, Mom? I've seen this all before. We've been through this before. This guy is just using you. And it turns out Tandy is wrong. Pink Robe Greg cleans up kind of good, when he's off the drugs, and he's married. Like, they got all kinds of problems. But he comes in with food and he wants to cook, and they're sort of playing like, he's sort of playing like happy family with Tandy, and Tandy is like not here for any of the bullshit. But she also recognized that when she touches people, that she can sort of see their dreams. And that's what she does to Pink Robe Greg. When he's like cooking, she offers to help him, and she touches him on the hand, and she sees his dreams. And Pink Robe Greg actually turns out to be a genuine guy. Like, he genuinely cares about her mother. He genuinely wants to help them, and he wants to get to know Tandy and sort of, be a family with them, I guess. In his dreams, her mom is like everybody is all cleaned up, which Tandy wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting. I was expecting Pink Robe Greg to be like a real bad guy. So I was side-eyeing him all last week, and I'm like really mad at myself because I could have been I love Pink Robe Greg now, and I'm so mad that Pink Robe Greg took a hot one to the forehead and he is dead. Yo, I was not ready for that. I was not ready. Um, but there's after she sees Pink Robe Greg's dreams, Tandy decides that um this is the best time. She wants to get involved in the case, in the Roxanne case. She wants to know what Pink Robe Greg is doing. She actually goes to his office to talk to him, and she tells him that her father told her that character is what you do when no one else is watching. So she wants to see what Pink Robe Greg is doing. And she wants to help him. And they actually sort of form this sort of friendship because, she talks to Pink Robe Greg and she tells him, she basically calls him out. Like, I know you're using my mom. You were in here doing drugs with her. Like, you're no good. But he calls her out too. He's like, girl, we got the drugs from you. Like, I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Give me a chance. And Tandy is sort of won over. And Pink Robe Greg is a good guy for the rest of the episode until his wife calls. It's just like, it's so complicated. There's this moment where they're all trying to have dinner and his wife calls. And he refuses to answer the phone and it gets like really awkward. And I'm like, oh, Greg, either deny the phone call. Like, he just let the phone ring on the table with his wife's picture flashing on the screen. And I'm like, my dude, just reject the phone call or answer it. But it was so awkward. I loved it. It was so funny. He's standing there. They're all sitting there staring at the phone, and it was great. I love that moment. It was so funny. There are a lot of low key. I mean, that moment was funny to me. I don't think it was supposed to be funny. I think it was supposed to be like, it was an uncomfortable moment that I found funny. But there were a lot of low key, funny moments in this episode, so that the show doesn't get too heavy. So anyway, what Tandy is supposed to be doing, or what Ty thinks he's supposed to be telling Tandy to do, doesn't feel as clear to me as what's going on with Ty. So I think his individual scene, or not individual, but his scenes with away from Tandy end up being a little more interesting to me in this episode. So, he runs out of the police station. He doesn't have a bike now. I guess he had to go back under the bridge to get his bike. But he's had a noticeable sort of change in attitude, because even Evita notices it. He and Evita are at school. They go into like the school dark room, where I guess this is the school dark room. Yeah, I'm not a dummy. There were pictures hanging up in that room. I think they were developing pictures in that room, but whatever. And he just starts kissing her. Like, Ty has gotten really bold since last week. I don't know what's happened. I do know what's happened, but I'm just saying he has a little bit of swag about him, I guess, maybe. Or maybe he's being a little bit more aggressive. Like, I don't know. Is it just that he feels like the visions from last week weren't about him, and he sort of feels like he's got his head on a little bit straighter, maybe? Maybe. At least with Evita, he's noticeably different, at least to Evita, because he starts kissing her, and he starts, bending her over the table, and she's telling him, like, whoa, like, what happened to you? And then, like, Ty, is like, he's going for like this whole bad boy thing, but he's still a good guy because when she like pushes him away and asks like like what's going on with you, he's like a good guy and it's like, hey, is this too much? Do you want me to stop? So I'm like, even Ty being like different and a little bit more aggressive is still a good guy that would stop if Evita didn't want to go on. But of course, Evita did want to keep kissing him. I don't think we're supposed to think, like, at first I was thinking, like, did they just have sex in school? But I don't think we're supposed to think they had sex. I think we're just supposed to think that they kissed very intimately in that room for a little while. So Ty had a whole thing in the beginning of the episode where his mom made breakfast and he has like this, he as usual is like angry Ty and he has this attitude and he has his earphones on and he can't hear his mom when she's telling him to sit down and eat. And he really doesn't want to hear from his parents. I mean, my dude was like he was like on the edge of disrespectful to his parents. Like, no, he was actually disrespectful to his parents because his dad is like, hey, do you hear your mom talking to you? Like, what's the problem? And Ty basically tells him he should have just said, just mind your fucking business, because that was the basic message to his father. Like, mind your fucking business. I don't want any of your food. I'm getting out of here. I got shit to do. And when Ty gets home from school, after, not home from school, but home from the police station, his father is like, hey, I was looking for my bolt cutters because after, your little outburst this morning, I was like, he was thinking about taking the doors off of the hinges. Like, Ty wouldn't have any privacy. And his dad was like, do you know where my bolt cutters are? And Ty lies, of course. And his dad steals his, takes his bag, finds the bolt cutters. And his dad immediately is like, this is the shit that, started Billy on the wrong path. Like, this is what Billy started doing, stealing shit. Like, you only need these bolt cutters if you're doing something illegal. Was his father's basic thing. Like, you wouldn't need these bolt cutters if you were doing something good. And if you were doing something good, you could have just asked me if you could have the bolt cutters. So obviously you're doing something wrong. You're coming with me. And at this point in the episode, I was like, I'm already on Ty's side. I'm like side-eyeing his dad because Ty's dad has just been like, I haven't been a fan of Otis. His name is Otis. I have not been a fan of Otis in these first few episodes. I was like side-eyeing him. I'm like, let Ty feel things. Let him listen to what he's saying. You're not doing that, Otis. But his dad ends up taking him to this sort of men's group. Okay, he takes him to this group of men, and it's like this really cool scene where he walks up and there's all these black men, these, beautiful black men sitting in the yard playing music. It's just a nice thing where they're just all hanging out, and it's just a nice place to be. He walks up, everything gets quiet, and he starts he starts singing. He starts reciting this, like, I don't know what you call it. It's not a poem, really. He starts making this recitation, and he's like, he's saying all this stuff about how he's, the runner, and it's like this beautiful, it's this beautiful thing. And, the guy, this guy comes out, I forget what his name is, but he's like obviously the leader, and he comes out and he's, speaking back to him. It's almost like a fraternity type thing. a black fraternity type thing. Like, I don't know about that white people stuff, but the black fraternities where, you get the alpha omegas and you get the, it's a whole thing. So that's almost what it felt like. Is they're a they're sort of a Mardi Gras troupe is what they turn out to be. And it's this really cool moment where, his Otis hasn't been there in a while. They all say they clown him for the leader dude clowns him for the shoes that he's wearing. He's like, oh, what are you doing down here in the 7th ward? Those ninth ward shoes that you got on. You can't. What are you doing down here wearing those shoes? Should we throw him in the river or something like that? They say. It was so funny. I was like, oh my God, they clowning my dude's shoes. It was so funny. This was just such a great moment. And the guy ends up like threatening Otis with a straight razor, and Otis doesn't flinch, and it sort of ends up with them hugging and everything. It was such a cool moment because Ty is looking around. He's like, what the fuck is going on? He doesn't know what's going on. And then it's all these guys just end up hugging, and they're like this, group of guys that they make uniforms every year for the Mardi Gras parade, and they sort of march together in the in Mardi Gras. What are they called? They're called the Mardi Gras Indians. I think they're called. I read this online. I believe they're called Mardi Gras Indians or Mardi Gras Natives or something like that. But they're we have something like that here in Philadelphia. We have a mummers parade. That's a white thing that, that's kind of racist. They're kind of racist there sometimes. So I don't like the mummers parade. They do that. The mummers are for New Year's. I believe it's New Year's Day. I have never watched a mummers parade, but they have all of these elaborate costumes and everything, and it's like this. That's what this is on Cloak and Dagger. That's what this group is. That's what they do. They have all of these elaborate beaded costumes, and turns out Ty's dad is trying to brought him here to sort of show him this part of life, to show him how he learned discipline and determination. Like, making these costumes is a thing that is really important. And Billy was a part of it also. And his Ty's dad is telling him, like, look at these, he's showing them all of these costumes and showing, the intricate beading around them. And he's telling him that, these costumes are really important. And every year they make new ones. And he said, this is how I learned grace and control, and diligence is, making these costumes. And he's telling Ty, like, this is what you need to learn too. You need to learn to control yourself. You need to learn how to, you need to learn grace, and this is how you'll learn it. We make these costumes every year because every year you're a new person. And, there's this whole room of costumes that people don't finish, they never finish. And Ty goes back there and he finds his cloak, it's such a cool moment. He's immediately drawn to this cloak. It's a black cloak, obviously. And it turns out it was Billy's cloak. It was a cloak that was unfinished by Billy because Billy died. And Ty is drawn to it, and he tells his father that he's going to finish the cloak for Billy. He's going to finish the beating, and he'll march with them in Mardi Gras in Billy's name, to honor Billy. And is really cool. And you find out that Billy was training to be a runner. No, he was training to be, what was it called? A run boy? I forget what it's called. What is it called? He was training to be a I believe it's called a run boy. And what the run boy does is he runs out into the unknown. No, a spy boy. A spy boy is what he's called. A spy boy runs out into the unknown, looking for trouble. And then they warn everybody about when trouble is coming. And so that was what Billy was training to do. So I think that is what Ty is going to be training to do. And it sort of fits in with his whole Cloak persona because Ty goes out, he already, his powers will allow him to go out into the unknown, and would allow him to warn his people. And I cannot tell you how black this shit was and how cool it was. To see a group of black men who were doing this, and it was not, it was not a whole bunch of super macho manly shit. I mean, aside from the whole, I'm going to put a straight razor to your neck kind of thing. There wasn't a whole lot of, macho, silly man shit. It was mostly Ty's dad, teaching him about how disciplined and, what these men do. And it was really cool. So I appreciate it. And Ty got his cloak. So I cannot wait to see when he finishes that cloak and to see him wear that cloak. Because, when I first watched the episode, low key, I was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh man, I was hoping that Tandy would give Ty back the hoodie, Billy's hoodie, and that would be his cloak. But now, since the cloak that he found is from Billy anyway, and it's sort of this unfinished thing that comes from Billy, I think I like it better than, him just wearing a hoodie. So, I changed my mind and I think this is better and I love it. So, what happens next? Ty and Tandy continue talking, and they're talking. This is another thing that I loved. They're talking about, Tandy is telling Ty about the first time, she got one of her daggers, and, she's trying to explain to him the feeling that she got from, the first time she released one of her daggers, and she's talking about how it was this release, and, she's like, yeah, it was like sexual. And, she was like, it's like sexual, and I'm like, no, Ty didn't really say anything. I'm like, no, my boy does not know. He doesn't know about that sex life. So that was just like a low key funny moment. But this was a little flirty thing between them, because this is when, they sort of talk about their significant others and how, whether they've told anybody about what they've experienced, and they both say no, because nobody else would understand. They can't, she couldn't tell, her partner Liam, who she has not, this is the first time she's mentioned Liam in a long time. Like, she is not trying to help Liam get out of jail. Like, I don't know where Liam is. He has to come back, right? Like, Liam is just he's not going to be dead or gone or anything. He has to come back. Oh my God. Poor Liam. Like, that poor guy. Like, I wasn't like a huge fan of him, but we're getting like further along, and Liam is not getting brought up. Tandy's not worried about him. Like, Tandy don't give a shit about Liam. Oh, poor dude. So they they talk about, who they would have told was Ty would have told Billy and Tandy would have told her dad. But obviously now they have each other though. And that's what they say to each other. Like they couldn't tell other people. And the people that they would have told are gone, but now they can talk to each other. And Tandy tells him how nice it is to have somebody to talk to, which was so sweet. And this is the moment where I thought was kind of flirty, and she talks about how he has like these beautiful eyes, and it's like, oh, Tandy, you flirt. Ty, jump on that like right now. Well, obviously you can't. They'll be repelled from each other, but just get away from Evita and worship at the altar of Tandy because she is wonderful. So things are all going really nice for them. And then all of a sudden shit gets bad. Shit goes bad quick because they're still talking about their feelings now. And they're talking about Ty tells her that they're both, what they're both going through is survivor's guilt. And Ty's guilt is that he feels like he has to live two lives, and he doesn't feel like he deserves to still be alive. And Tandy wishes that she had died instead. And this really sets Tyrone off because he tells her like, yo, and actually Tandy tells him like she's thought about killing herself. And that's what really sets him off. He's like, yo, you don't have any reason to kill yourself. Like, you have opportunities and you're living in this place when you don't really have to. Like you're wasting away in here. Like, what are you talking about? You want to kill yourself. And this is when a real conversation kind of happens between them because they're angry with each other now. And they both call each other on their privilege. Ty tells Tandy like, yo girl, Tandy's telling him like, hey, I'm here. I have to steal to get what I need. And Ty is telling her like, no, you don't have to steal to get what you need. And the way that you do things, the fact that you can go into any room and steal from people is a privilege that you have as a white girl. Like, you can walk into any room and you have the privilege of walking up to these men and stealing from them. But as a black boy, he doesn't have that advantage. And he tells her, the entire world is out to kill me. And Tandy also calls him on his privilege though, because, she's a woman and she tells him like, yo, things are so bad for me that I can't even press charges against the guy that almost raped me. She doesn't say that he almost raped her. She stops before she says the word rape, but she tells him, I can't even press charges against this guy, so, what privilege, that's my privilege. My privilege is not being able to press charges on a person that's tried to attack me. And it kind of, the scene ends with Ty telling her like, yo, if you want to kill yourself, just go ahead and do it. And Tandy tells him like, yeah, I'm not the only one that wants to kill myself. I saw your hopes, and in all your hopes, you end up committing suicide by a cop. And it's like, oh shit. They just, like, it was just so cute. It was so cute. I was like so happy about those moments. And then they go at each other. And it sort of pushes both of them into their most self-destructive. Ty gets angry. He gets angry. Well, he gets angry. He goes home and he sort of exercises, out his aggression. Tandy tries to, snort pills, and she eventually tries to kill herself. Which I was really surprised about. She goes to the pier, she wraps chains around her legs, she ties her arms up, and she jumps into, I guess it's the river. And I really thought in this moment they were going to have Ty come in to save her, but no, she saves herself. One of her daggers pops up and she pops out of the water. So I guess she can't kill herself. Like her instincts her powers will always manifest in that moment, and she will she will save herself. So I guess she can't kill herself. And once they both get over their anger, they both try to do things differently, which was the message from last week. They both had to do things differently. And for Tandy sees Pink Robe Greg get a hot one to his head, like I said before. Like, Greg is in his office. A woman delivers like one of those jugs of water to him, and I knew as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh no, nobody delivers anything that late, especially not like those jugs of water or anything. So I was like, oh, Greg is about to get killed, and he gets shot in the head, and then the woman pours like gasoline over everything, and she sets his office on fire. Oh, poor Pink Robe Greg. My homie he gets taken out. So Tandy sees that, and she goes back to tell her mother, but she can't tell her mother because she had just tried to convince her mother that Greg was a good guy and to give him another chance. And now she has to break the news that Greg is dead. Oh, that he was murdered. And I feel like this is something that would sort of push her mom over the edge. Like, she convinced her mom to give Greg another chance, and now Greg is gone. Poor Tandy. Like, Tandy really gets kicked in the teeth for trying to do the right thing, for trying to do things differently. Like, she goes to see Bridget O'Reilly last week and gets told that she can't press charges against her attacker. And now this week she has to tell her mom, who she convinced to give her boyfriend another chance. She has to tell her that, said boyfriend is now dead. Oh, poor Tandy. And my boy Ty, he makes up for being a dick to his mom. He makes breakfast. He and his dad are sort of being closer together, and he decides to go back to the police station, and instead of faking a robbery, a stolen bike, he goes to talk to Bridget O'Reilly, which is like, okay, Ty, trying to get justice. And if you're going to try to get justice, you have to work with the cops, which is going to be rough. And I want to see what Bridget O'Reilly actually decides to do. But this should be really interesting going into next week. Like, how are Ty and Tandy going to make up with each other? Will Tandy tell Ty that she actually tried to kill herself? Yeah. I can't wait until next week. This was a really good episode. And that was the end of it. Ty going to talk to Bridget O'Reilly in the police station. Oh, and Tandy goes to Pink Robe Greg's office, and she takes some papers out of his out of one of his cabinets. And I can't believe, like, I know that the woman like burned, like tried to burn his office down, but it wasn't like completely torched. It's not like the entire office was burned out. It was Like, I feel like there was stuff in there that was like recoverable. So it seems weird to me that that woman, that killed Greg wouldn't be do a better job of burning the place down, or wouldn't go through his stuff to be like, yo, we have to get any evidence that can be incriminating, because obviously this person is from, Roxxon, right? Like, this person was sent by Roxxon. There can't be any other thing. Like, Greg is working on this case. It has to be somebody from Roxxon. What do they think Greg knows? They must, like, the people at Roxxon must think that Greg knows something. Oh, I cannot wait. I don't even have a guess about what they think he might know. But I can't wait until next week, you guys. So coming up, another episode of Saved by the Bell, my Malibu Sands episode. So it's going to be season 4 episode, I believe it's 6. I don't know what the episode is called, but expect that episode on Thursday. You should follow me across social media. I'm on Twitter at NerdTravertPod. You can follow my personal account on Twitter at the Ms. Introvert. On Instagram, I'm at the Introverted Nerd, and the Facebook page, facebook.com/the Introverted Nerd. And I'll be all over that stuff. So talk to me, use the hashtag NerdyWatch, and I'll see, and we can talk to each other, chat about what's going to happen next on Cloak and Dagger. I live tweet Cloak and Dagger every Thursday. So, join me there, because that's always fun. That's a lot of fun. And the people on the show, actually, live tweet the show too. I forget her name, but Tandy's mom live tweets, and Pink Road Greg, he live tweets too, and they liked a few of my tweets, so they like me. So join me there, and until the next episode, everybody, later.